All right, well, that's what we've been watching. Let's talk about our featured review now. And for that, we are looking at the new Netflix movie. I watched this last night. When I did, I saw it was #1 on Netflix. So,
Wow.
I mean, people are watching this thing. It is called Fair Play. Todd, you're going to be the first one to talk about this one. Tell us all about Fair Play and what you thought.
Okay, Fair Play is directed by Chloe Domont, and it stars Phoebe Dynevor and Alden Ehrenreich. They play Emily and Luke. They are co-workers at a really strict hedge fund, and they party a lot. They sort of fall in love, but they keep it a secret. And after a kind of spontaneous proposal, I guess, one of the PMs at the company gets fired, and Emily's promoted, which is unexpected and is bound to be somewhat controversial. Luke was kind of expecting it, so it inevitably starts to put a strain on their relationship. Campbell is played by Pinot nominee Eddie Marsan, and he is the head of head of the hedge fund, and he's just a ruthless character, and he has
Big
no
shout
problem
out to
just
Campbell's.
ousting anyone. He doesn't for just making any sort of mistake or putting. He does no problem putting people in their place. Basically, the dynamics of the new workplace relationship come to a boiling point, basically because of the promotion, and the movie has a really intriguing shift in like tone and genre at multiple points. It doesn't really. I mean, it evolves in a way that I wasn't really expecting. But it is mostly a throwback thriller in the way of like a Michael Douglas '90s erotic drama kind of thing. But it really is just like an intelligent movie for adults. Like I kind of was reminded of Michael Clayton in some ways, but with like loads of naughtiness. Like you don't get these kind of movies anymore. Like these like movies that are just made for adults that are just like strictly dramas that are kind of appealing. Um, there are some things that make it really new age though, like the sexual frustration parts. Like it makes it clear that like the need for sex dictates your like everything in your personal and professional life to the point that it could derail your entire career and all of your relationships. It's a weird trend that we have now, but it is something. Like there's a lot of like teasing and manipulation and repression that really bring out the most volatile parts in these characters. I think it's good that we just watched Dumb Money last week because it deals with a lot of the same ideas and lingo. Because otherwise, this would have a lot of this would have just been like nonsense. Um, Dynevor is a really interesting actress. She's like a Rachel Brosnahan type, and I'd never really seen her before, but she's really good. Alden Ehrenreich, I think, has grown up a lot recently. He this is like the Peter Sarsgaard part in the movie, and he absolutely nails it. Um, the movie gets more claustrophobic as it goes along. It's just a really confident debut film by Dumont. Like, it isn't necessarily a great film, but it is a work of somebody who understands the medium and makes a more polished movie than you would normally expect from someone making their first film. It's like when Billy Ray first made his movies, and it was like Shattered Glass and Breach were his first couple movies. Those aren't movies you make as your first couple movies, but this is one of those kind of things. And the final couple scenes are kind of iffy. Like when the scene in the bathroom started, I knew exactly where they're going with it, which was annoying. I don't think it really needed that element in the story, but it does wrap up somewhat in a satisfying manner. I'm giving it 3 stars. I could have done without the last like 15-20 minutes, but I did generally think most of this was like really pretty good.
All right. Zach, where are you at with this one?
Yeah, I'm mostly with you, Todd. I even liked it a little bit more. I'm going 3.5 stars on this film. This was a movie that got really under my skin. I watched it with my wife, which was probably a mistake. But it was an interesting think piece, shall we say, in the words of Ben Pongtorres. It definitely delved
I like what
into
we're
some
seeing.
exactly hardest working band. It definitely had no problem delving into some really heady topics, like, for example, gender discrimination in the workplace. I mean, the Eddie Marsan character calls her just, I can't even repeat what he calls her, but that's a stunning thing to call anybody in the workplace, especially someone who's just gotten a promotion. This movie does talk about kind of the sexual dynamics. This movie's also a lot about alcohol and drinking. That plays a big role in the movie and the corporate culture that they have to establish. And obviously, when the Luke character doesn't get a promotion, he takes himself quite a bit more seriously. Whereas Emily is supposed to be more laid back and just one of the guys at the top. That's a really interesting dynamic. I've never seen. I can only think of one other movie where characters pretended at the office to not be in a relationship. Can either of you guys think? Because it's a movie we've all seen. but it reminded me of this a little bit. But judging by the confused looks, I was reminded. It's in Good Night and Good Luck. Robert Downey Jr. and Patricia Clarkson do not tell people that they're married. And it kind of reminded me of that. This movie has a little bit of Mad Men dynamics to it. You know what I thought? I wrote down. I think it's Margin Call meets Marriage Story, which is kind of interesting. And I think it has some interesting pieces of Tar in the total breakdown by the end of this movie, the total mental collapse that a character has. I also wrote down Pieces of a Woman. I don't really remember Pieces of a Woman, the plot, that much, but I remember feeling really claustrophobic in that movie, along with Darren Aronofsky's Mother. This movie was appealing to me because it has the exact same plot as the Peter Brady subplot in A Very Brady Christmas, one of the great all-time DVD finds from Walmart for under $4. And Peter Brady in that movie struggles because his new girlfriend is also his boss. She's played by Valerie. There is a proposal at the end of that movie, but definitely no like vaginal blood. And I mean, this is like, you know, a Brady Christmas. Come on. Mike and Carol would never approve of that. This is also kind of the same plot as one of my favorite Dardenne Brothers movies, Rosetta, which is also about a semi-romantically linked boy and girl who are competing for the same job at a baguette stand in Belgium. That movie's a little better, but I will say I really dug this movie, start to finish. It was pretty riveting. The reason it's not a 4-star movie is a couple reasons. Number one, I think it visually kind of looks flat. I think it would have been better on a big screen. I think it would have been better as a film shot on film instead of that, you know, Netflix look. The last 15 minutes are a little crazy and divisive. I will say in the defense of them that I think a male director would have gone a different way. I think he would have ended the movie at the gathering, and they would have walked out together hand in hand and been and the statement would have been essentially, oh, that's who these people are. They live for the adrenaline. I like that there's a scene after that I think Chloe Dumont did a really nice job of adding to solidify the fact that basically what Alden Ehrenreich does in that movie over the last 45 minutes is pretty awful and should not be put on the moral relative scale of the things that she does. There's an uneven balance of that, or unbalance of it. I don't know where the title comes from. And I also think that some of the male critics who have been reviewing, this movie's gotten good reviews overall, not perfect reviews. Some of the male critics that I've heard about it have been really dismissive about it and have been fixating on the fact that Netflix has classified it as an erotic thriller, which it is not. So get over it. Get over yourselves. This is a good movie. Check it out. I think it has a lot of interesting, provocative talking points. And yeah, I think the performances are excellent in it, even though the main actress should have been played by Jessica Chastain 10 years ago. And the actor should have been played by Jake Johnson. I'm going 3.5 stars. Awesome movie. Really liked it.
See, I thought it was like Sanctuary in a way, but I mean, that was a male director and that had a similar ending to this. I don't know if it really would have changed. I just don't think they needed that element in the last 15 minutes, but
I think a male director would have just said both of these characters are driven by corporate greed. You know, they're like Matthew McConaughey and Wolf of Wall Street or something like that. They're both just overly ambitious dumbasses. And I think, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm being sexist, but I just think that that's a fairly reductive way to end the movie, which is the way I thought it was going. And then I remembered, oh, a woman wrote it, so it's probably better.
All right. So for me, I am. This is a thrice approved movie. I'm at 3.5 stars also, but I agree more with Todd in his points than Zach. I think I loved the first hour and a half of this. I like the office dynamics, the role reversal, the take on gender norms and how this plays out in the workplace, the take on just how workplaces work. And it's kind of a slow burn, which is really great. I mean, I was watching this with my wife too, and she just kept on saying they are taking their time with this, and it is brilliant. And I agree. It takes its time with this inevitable spiral that you know is coming. And I loved it. I loved it until those last 15 minutes because I think they are fascinating, but I think it completely changes your narrative of everything that had happened so far because you reduce it all to, oh, well, he's this horrible misogynistic person and we're going to show that in the last minute, and it just took all this time for that that to finally come out, when that's not really what the movie was about up till that point. I think it completely changes the message of the movie. It completely changes the tone of the movie by ending it the way it did. And you could have done it in a way that Zach, I think, would have still accomplished what you were looking for without taking this step that hits a hot button that's going to change everything that this movie is about. And that was my big issue with it. And I was so bummed because like I was like, this is like the whole time watching, this is potential like top 10 of the year material. And then those last 15 minutes come along and it's, what are you doing? Why are you? And the more I sat with it, the more it just bothered me how they wanted to, they tried to make a statement with the last 15 minutes they didn't need to make. And because it was a brilliant movie up till then.
I think
Yeah.
you're being way too hard on it. Are you, first of all, you're talking about the last scene, not the second to last scene, right?
I'm talking about the last two scenes combined.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly. Yeah. Same here. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't, like, you know who these characters are. You don't need to go there. And I knew right when that scene started, I was like, oh shit, this is going to be some nonsense thing that they're going to tack onto the movie to make it, you know, controversial and to get people talking about it. But you don't need that because it was good. It was already good. We knew these characters.
Normally, I would probably agree with you more. I mean, overall, I do understand your sentiment, and I agree. Maybe it did need to be dialed down a notch. I guess going back to, you know, it's like the scene in Tar when Kate Blanchett walks out on the stage, and that was in all the trailers, and it was like that moment was also just kind of unbelievably over the top, considering how restrained the movie really is up to that point. So it's a little bit of a contrast. I don't know. I like that the Alden Ehrenreich character got comeuppance. I think up to that scene, both of them are guilty to varying degrees, and I actually like that. I think the director's pretty even-handed about it. But by the end of the movie, it becomes again, yeah, you guys are saying that. I think his attitude, his behavior violates more, you know, etiquette than hers in many ways. And so I like that the movie doesn't just let it be there ambiguous. I like that it makes a statement about it. Now, whether it's consistent with what the characters would truly do in that situation, that's a different question. But I like that the movie was making a statement by the end.
I think you can make the statement without taking it there, because once you take it there, you're making a very different statement.
And that's all the
Come up
movie
with
is
what's
going
a
to be
better ending
about
then?
after that. And I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's no longer about like the brilliance of the first 90 minutes. It's about like the controversy of the last 10.
I don't think so. I don't even think the last 10 minutes is that controversial. I don't think anything happened that was that extraordinary. I didn't leave the movie thinking about the last 10 minutes.
Whatever.
I left the
We're
movie
not going to
thinking
agree on
about
this.
up to that point. But we all agree that we like the movie. I guess that's the agreement enough that we need.
Yeah, and I think Todd and I are just saying it could have been, at least for me, it could have been great. But those last couple scenes just twisted things, enough and made the whole it tinted the lens of how you saw the rest of the movie in a way it didn't need. I will say one of my favorite scenes was the scene in between the two scenes we're talking about with her and Eddie Marsan. That is a cool scene. That's a cool scene. And Eddie Marsan's great in this. I love all the performances in this, especially the two leads. Apparently, the girl is most known for, was it Bridgerton?
Bridgerton.
Up till this point, yeah.
And you can sometimes hear a British accent come through a little bit.
Yeah, I was watching. I'm like, I
know.
have a feeling she's hiding a British accent. All right, the one thing that was the biggest plot hole I saw in this whole thing, that, I mean, HR knows that they both list the same address, right? Right, like their home residence.
Not necessarily.
Someone at the company knows that they're sending paychecks to the same.
Well,
address.
even if HR knows, Eddie Marsan has that line about how you send HR to clean up all that garbage and you don't deal with them. So he would have never known. Who at HR is going to let Eddie Marsan know?
That's the brilliance of that scene, is he knows. He knows. He knows.
I don't know.
He knows she's full of crap in that scene. He knows.
Well, people, and
Well,
then
yeah,
there's
he's
another,
pushing
one of
buttons
the
the whole
characters.
movie. That's the greatness of that character. Is he knows what he's got to do to motivate his people. He knows his people more than they know each other.
So are you saying, Terry, that he knows that they're living together when he calls her at 2 a.m. and he's just, effing with her?
Yeah,
Like, is that kind of what you're implying? Because that makes the
I think
character
so.
a little bit more interesting and potentially minor character Pinot worthy, because that's really effed up to do that. If he knew,
I think
that's
so.
that's an
Well, because in that
interesting layer of the movie I'd never
that
considered.
last scene, she has the whole story, and his response is save whatever story you have for HR. I don't really care. Just move on from him. So I mean, you hear that scene, like, he totally knows what's going on, and he's telling her, "I don't care. Just clean it up."
I really like Todd's comparison to the GameStop movie as well. Which one of these characters I either would have thought of GameStop or missed it? I mean, someone got fired for the GameStop shit, right? I mean, to not recognize that is a fire-worthy offense. Maybe that was the guy that was freaking out and bashing up the computer at the beginning. That was also another nice callback to Margin Call of people getting fired at the beginning of the movie. We got some really nice getting fired freakouts in this movie. And I know we did that as either a Rushmore or power ranking at some point, but this one is a solid entry. I don't think it happens in necessarily any of the most important characters, but hey, an office freak out because you're getting fired is always a welcome sight in movies. Let's have more of that, please.
Very true. Very true. All right. Well, we are thrice approved, even though this might be all right. What a couple weeks ago when we did retirement plan, I think I said that it was possibly the most enjoyable thrice declined movie, and the thrice declined movie we all liked the most. Now I think this might be the most divisive thrice approved movie we've ever had, and just what we liked about it and how we liked it. But it is thrice approved. It is on Netflix now. It is like I said, it's number one on Netflix, so it's easy to find. Go check it out. It's worth a watch for sure, and definitely a talking point. After watching it, I was really interested to see how this conversation was going to go, because it is a movie worth talking about, and it is a discussion starter for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that was the buzz at it when it premiered at Sundance. I just want to know, what's the ending that you guys would have come up with? I mean, if we're busting the director's balls for this, even though she doesn't have any, what kind of conclusion would you have liked to seen the story wrap up in? I mean, I was pretty satisfied by that ending. I thought the characters got the comeuppance that they deserved. It was a long time coming.
All right, so yeah, we are getting into slight spoiler territory here, but yeah, we could definitely talk about this. Um, I think you can do something similar without the deed being done. Um, and have a similar ending to it. I don't know. I see a version of this movie where he, like, at one point when he's like criticizing how she dresses, like, there's a version of it where that like spirals her in a way where she completely loses her edge, and he like sabotages her job from the inside out. That could have been really interesting. Um I think there's a version of this where she just flat out destroys him after she starts seeing what he's doing. Uh, but it doesn't need the bathroom scene to do that. I think that's really where what my issue is.
Yeah, well,
See,
and the bathroom scene opens up a whole can of worms too about like consent. Anyway, because like they're obvious, she obviously engages in some like very aggressive sex, and that turns into something she categorizes as rape, and then you have that whole dynamic in there too. What I wanted it to do was something that Zach kind of alluded to, was that like it would have been more like the ending of Phantom Thread or something like that, where it's like these are like this is what like these people are playing games with each other the entire movie, and like she
right.
goes like knowingly they just got engaged, and then she goes out to the strip club with the guys, basically. So I mean, like they are
It's just
manipulating
games.
and teasing each other throughout the entire movie. If it would have been something where it'd be like she's in control, but of their relationship, but they have that as like that's what they do, like that's kind of more the way I thought it was going, and where I think it would have been a more satisfying ending.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I thought too. I kind of thought maybe even like War of the Roses or something. This is just who these people are, and they will forever be. That is their plights, right? But I think when that scene does turn into a scene of sexual assault, or whenever that line is broken, then I think the movie needs an extra piece to it, and I like how it actually went into that. I thought that was kind of bold and daring, and even if it wasn't totally satisfying, I thought it was really necessary and it was unique. And this is a movie that was its best quality is that it wasn't afraid. It didn't have restraint. It went into these very hot button topics, aesthetically in a pretty restrained way, in an intelligent and informed way. But I liked that extra level of the movie, and I thought the director was pretty, and the actors pretty fearless in going there. So I dug it. It was something a French movie would do. You know who would approve of this ending would be like Jennifer Jason Leigh or someone like that, or who's that French actress that does everything? Isabelle Huppert. She would have liked the ending of this movie.
See, and I respect where it went. My problem with it though is, like I said, once you have that happen, you and like I said, everything before it's seen with a different tint. I mean, if you're ending with a sexual assault scene in the bathroom, why not? The movie could have been called Birth of a Rapist, and that would have been, because that's what the movie is now about. It's about that. It's not about all the games that led up to it. It's about how this man is a deplorable human being. He always has been a deplorable human being, and it took this to finally get it out. And that's not who he was the entire movie, but that's how he's going to be remembered, because you added this into at the end.
No, that's who he was the
That's
whole
my
movie,
issue.
though. And the movie teases you. Yeah, there are times when he appears remorseful, but no, that's who he was at the core of the movie. And I think the movie was unambiguous in making that statement by the end. I liked it. I dug it.
No,
I
I
think
mean, but that changes the entire movie now. I don't. I mean, that she was that way too. Like they were basically the same person. That's why they're together. But but in the end, it's just like I don't know.
what
It
was she doing
skews.
that was
It's
so wrong? How was that on his level? All that she ever did was, I mean, she got drunk because she had to be a part of the corporate workforce. She told him his ideas were dumb, which they were, and she was always honest with him. The only thing in the whole movie she wasn't honest about is at the very end of the movie when she lies to Eddie Marsan. But she's honest the whole movie. He's the one that's kind of a deceptive
As
asshole.
honest as a cutthroat hedge fund manager analyst can be.
yeah,
I mean,
who just got promoted when it was obviously for reasons other than her work, right? I mean, and that's sort of the point of the movie
I,
too. I mean, and that's what brings everything to light. Every one of the characters in the movie felt the same way that he did. It's just that he
well, I
was more involved with her, and that's why. I mean, and then escalates from there. I get it, but like, I mean, the end makes it a something about something different.
I like that we can disagree because I disagree with a lot of that statement. I thought the director was trying to show that she got hired because of her actual talent, but I think it's a good movie. We're all agreed on that. The movie is successful because we're having these debates, and I think you guys are perfectly fine to have your opinion. I think the movie leaves that part open to interpretation.
and see, I'll disagree with Todd. I thought she was hired on her talent as well, but the fact that it's like he thought the job was his, and now he has to. That's what I was saying. It talks great about workplace dynamics, and that he feels like he has to be slighted because she got the job over him, and because there's no other way that this happens, and the boss calls for you at 2 a.m. to come to the restaurant. I mean, this is odd stuff, but everything checks out. But he starts to lose it because of that, and she's losing it too. Like, she is bending over backwards to try and help him along, but she's realizing, oh man, he kind of is crap at his job. And see, that I thought that could have been an interesting way of taking this too, is as this is going along and halfway through, and she realizes, yeah, he does kind of suck. Oh
Isn't
crap.
that what
And then
happened? She realizes that.
she does, but then take what how does the relationship change, and how does her actions toward him change? Which it never does. She continues to stay on his side and tries to prop him up, instead of just realizing that, and the tables turn and she ruins him because he's ruining her. But that's not what happens either. it like these are all the ways where you could have kept it there instead of taking it to that other place. Yeah, like you said, it's kind of a brilliant movie because it hits these hot button topics and it forces these reactions out of us, and we all can look at it different ways and still say it's a great movie for very different reasons.